Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to share with you my ranking of every single Led Zeppelin album. Now, before we start, how I'm going to rank this is obviously going to be based on my personal taste, how other people review it as well, and obviously with the time period in which I listen to this. Obviously, things have happened in my life where I don't listen to certain songs or albums as much as I used to, so that's definitely going to be taken into consideration when I rank these albums. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. My number 8 is going to be very self-explanatory. For anyone who is a Zeppelin fan or anyone who knows this album, they're going to know why it's on the bottom of my list. Number 8 is Presence. Presence is not a very great album whatsoever. But I will say the greatest song on there is obviously Achilles' Last Stand. Achilles' Last Stand is a very, 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 very good song. I think it's like a 8 or 10 minute song, and every single second of it's just absolute awesome. Like it just pulls you in. It's just incredible. Another song in that album that's really good is Nobody Follows But Mine. But yeah, besides all that, I got very bored listening to this album. Like when I first started, it was very. I had high hopes after listening to Achilles' Last Stand because after it was Nobody's Fault But Mine, and then it just kind of descended into me being bored and wanting to go into the next album. But yeah, Presence was not a very good album. Ask anybody who's a Zeppelin fan or anyone who knows this album, they will say the same exact thing. It is not good at all. But those two songs on there do stand out from the rest of the album and have obviously made a place of one of the greatest Zeppelin songs of all time. But besides that, it's nothing really to get excited over. Presence, overall, I'd give it like a 3 out of 10, and it's at the bottom of my list. So number 8 is Presence. Next on my list, which was very good album. Number 7, Into the Outdoor. Into the Outdoor was definitely a huge upgrade from what they had previously, which was Presence. Into the Outdoor had a lot of good songs on it, like Full in the Rain, obviously All My Love, which was a very sad meaning to it. I believe, if I remember correctly, Robert Plant saying that as well. Him losing his child either prior to making the album or during making the album. But yeah, it's a very sad song, but throughout that, besides that song, it obviously has more of an upbeat and like happy, joyous tone. But right after that, Zeppelin just not gonna last anymore, which is actually very sad because Bonzo died in 1980. But yeah, besides all of that, Into the Outdoor had a solid song selection and it had a very good tone to it. But from the rest of the album, it doesn't really have anything to give from the rest of the discography. It's obviously not as good as the rest, but it is a solid album, and I'd give it a solid 4 out of 10. Number 7 on my list, Into the Outdoor. Now, next on my list is probably going to get a lot of hate, but I don't care. It's my list. Number 6 on my list is Led Zeppelin III. Now, I know exactly what people are going to say. Led Zeppelin III is a great album. It's a really great album. It's not better than what they had before. Led Zeppelin III obviously had an incredible heavy-hitting song entitled, most of you should know, Immigrant Song and Tangerine and Since I've Been Loving You. Those are 3 incredible songs on that album. And it was one of the first Zeppelin albums that I've gotten. The first album I got was Led Zeppelin II, then the next one was Led Zeppelin III, like a couple days or a few weeks after that. Led Zeppelin III is a solid album. It has a really good song selection, really good tone to it, and you can definitely tell from when they recorded Zeppelin 1 and then Zeppelin 2, they got a much more higher quality studio sound. You can definitely tell much more production was put into that more than Led Zeppelin 2, but we'll get to that in a minute. Led Zeppelin 3 was a really good album, but it's not my favorite. Not at all. It's not my favorite. Really good songs on it, but I think the rest of the albums are much better than Led Zeppelin 3. Don't get me wrong, Led Zeppelin 3 is a great album. It's just not my favorite. Hence why Led Zeppelin 3 is making it on my number 6 on my list. Say what you will, comment what you guys think about it, or what you guys think about my ranking of this. Led Zeppelin 3, number 6. Number 5 on my list, we're getting to the top 5 now. Physical Graffiti is my number 5. Physical Graffiti was a really, really good album. I really enjoyed listening to it. 10 Years Gone, Cashmere, Trampled Underfoot. It's just a really, really good, heavy-hitting album. I believe this was after Houses of the Holy, if I'm not mistaken. Physical Graffiti had a really good sounding tone to it, much more production and thought put into it. Like, you can tell, like, 10 Years Gone's like a 10 or 11 minute song. Another reason why most songs have like a long longevity of that are really, really good, like Achilles' Last Stand. 10 Years Gone, Cashmere, obviously one of the best Zeppelin songs out there, and Trampled Underfoot, which is very underrated. But yeah, overall, I give Physical Graffiti a 5 out of 10. It was just a really good album to just sit through and listen to. Another reason why it's on my number 5 on my list. So yeah, the reasons why Fist Graffiti is at my number 5 spot. Sorry. Number 4 spot is Led Zeppelin's debut album, Led Zeppelin 1. I think this is one of the most greatest debut albums of all time. I know I've said Blizzard of Oz, obviously the greatest debut album of all time. Black Sabbath's debut, almost said Paranoid, and Led Zeppelin 1 are the holy trinity of the greatest debut albums of all time, in my opinion. Led Zeppelin 1 had a very hard-hitting blues sound, which I really enjoy sometimes. Dazed and Confused, Communication Breakdown, Good Times, Bad Times, the 3 main songs on that album that really stood out. Really, really good songs. Physical Graffiti, I really enjoyed going through this album. And nothing really happened, so it's kind of just like in my past. Like nothing's really happened for it to change in my ranking. That's why it's really up there. Led Zeppelin 1 is a really good album, and I definitely recommend it to anybody who's starting to listen to rock music or just starting to get into different bands such as Zeppelin. But yeah, tell me what you guys think. Led Zeppelin 1, my number 4 spot. My number 3 spot, which is my number 3, my number 2, and my number 1, are I put as 10 out of 10. Perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these albums whatsoever. They are perfect. Nothing will ever change my mind. Number 3 is Houses of the Holy. A questionable album cover, but really, really good. Really, really good sound and song selection. Song remains the same. Obviously, The Ocean, the Rain Song, Over the Hills and Far Away, The Crunge. Just really, really good songs on that. And yeah, it was really, really fun to listen to. A lot of things happened during the time period when I first discovered this album, and it was a really good time in my life where I finally discovered this album and started listening to it all the way through. It was a really, really good album to listen to. Solid 10 out of 10 whatsoever. It's perfect. Nobody will ever tell me otherwise. Houses of the Holy, my number 3 spot. My number 2 spot, which is very, very difficult to put this in number 2, because it is my favorite Zeppelin album. I've mentioned in numerous videos. Led Zeppelin II is at my number 2 spot. It's very hard to put this in number 2 because Led Zeppelin II is my favorite. But you guys will eventually realize why I put this in number 2, my number 1. But Led Zeppelin II, obviously, it's like a greatest hits album. And just a compilation of all their best things. What Is, What Should Never Be, Heartbreaker, Live and Love and Made, the Lemon Song, I mean, A Whole Lot of Love, I mean, Jesus Christ. It's a really, really great album. And anybody who's starting to get into rock or Zeppelin, like I said, with the rest of the albums, definitely should pick up this album and listen to it all the way through. Led Zeppelin 2 combines sort of a hard rock sounding more than it was on the first album, and like meshing like psychedelic rock and blues to make what is Led Zeppelin 2. I really, really enjoyed listening to it all the way through, and it's obviously my favorite. But my number 1 spot will obviously shine through and make sense of why I put Led Zeppelin 2 at my number 2 spot. So my number 1, obviously, it's been in numerous Rolling Stone articles and just people's top 5 greatest albums of all time, like period. Led Zeppelin 4 is obviously their best and most creative album they've ever made. Like Led Zeppelin 2, it's like a compilation album of their greatest hits. I mean, Jesus. It's got Stairway to Heaven, Going to California When the Levee Breaks, Jesus. I mean, Four Sticks, Battle of Evermore, Rock and Roll Black Dog. I mean, there's not much you can say about perfection, which is what I put in Led Zeppelin 4. Led Zeppelin 4, I mean, that transition from Going into California into the When the Levee Breaks, I mean, cold chills, like, Jesus Christ. In the end of When the Levee Breaks, where it hits those, like, very, very, very reverb spots where it just kind of echoes and ends, it's gorgeous and beautiful and just awesome. Spine chill, 10 out of 10. This album is perfect. There's not much more I can say about it, but I'm sure anyone knows Stairway to Heaven or knows Led Zeppelin 4 in general. It's been in, like I said, numerous articles about the greatest album of all time or the greatest songs of all time. Like, I know there's many feuds about Bohemian Rhapsody and Stairway to Heaven, like, kind of tying as 2 of the greatest songs of all time. But yeah, Led Zeppelin 4 is my number 1 spot. Tell me what you guys think about my ranking. But that's all for today. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.